In 1872, rugged, frontier Australia was lauded for overcoming the tyranny of distance to connect itself to the world via the bush telegraph, a 2-year project stringing 3,200 kilometers (2,000 miles) of wire through the outback that became part of the nation's folklore. By contrast, today, while striving to be seen as an innovation nation, Australia stands condemned, even ridiculed, for its latest drive for connectivity, a modern, fast internet network. 3 letters, NBN, have come to strike dread into the minds of consumers, with a national broadband network symbolizing for many a template in how not to do things. Given Australia's large size and sparse population density of 3 people per square kilometre, the NBN is the country's largest ever infrastructure project. The total budget sits at $49 billion, £29 billion, $38 billion. Of that budget, around 35% must be spent connecting the final 10% of users, including wiring to remote areas, erecting many of the required 2,600 wireless towers, and, most expensively, putting 2 satellites in the sky. This week, Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull called the NBN a mistake and a calamitous train wreck by a previous Labour government. Former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd hit back by saying the project's issues lie all on your head, meaning the current Conservative government. The escalating blame game, the NBN's slow rollout, and a switch to inferior technology midstream have combined with other factors to leave Australians frequently asking the question, why is our internet so slow? In 2013, Australia ranked 30th for average internet speeds. The NBN was meant to improve that, but the most recent standings ranked Australia 50th. The State of the Internet survey by US internet firm Akamai put Australia, with an average of 11.1 megabits per second, behind countries including Kenya, Hungary, and Russia. And while it promotes itself as part of Go Ahead Asia, Australia sits only 8th in the region, behind neighbours such as Thailand, 21st overall, and New Zealand, 27th. Some comparisons are misleading. Only 1.75% of Kenyan homes have fixed-line internet, compared with 90% in Australia. For many, particularly inner-city Australians on the best NBN technology, fixed-line speeds are adequate, particularly if you pay more. But there's no escaping Australia has been overtaken by many countries on the internet table. What's worse is that with many of those connected to the NBN reporting no improvement over old ADSL connections, of the homes equipped to take the new service, only 40% have chosen to do so. In business and international competitiveness, the fears are perhaps more serious. Going lower in ranking is alarming and just not acceptable, says University of Sydney academic Dr. Lauded, who has researched the NBN extensively and, like others, worries Australia's best minds will be lost to countries with better technology. Australia wants to be in the first 10 or so economies in the world. Obviously, if you want to do that, your internet access cannot be ranked 50th. The history. In 2007, Mr. Rudd announced 98% of Australian homes would be on the NBN by 2020. It was a breathtakingly ambitious idea. It was also, according to critics, backed by inadequate research into logistics and costs, initially put at $15 billion. The natural starting point was Australia's oldest telecom company, Telstra. Elsewhere, countries like New Zealand simply used the infrastructure already laid by their major telecom company to install fast internet cabling. But Telstra, halfway privatized at the time, clashed with regulators over how it might on-sell broadband access to its competitors, and so pulled out of the running to build the network. Eventually, the government announced it would simply start a whole new semi-autonomous company from scratch. Called the NBN, it would set up the infrastructure to connect Australians with state-of-the-art fibre optic cables to their homes, selling bandwidth wholesale to retailers. Progress was slow, sporadic, and expensive. With Australia's preference for underground wiring, often concrete driveways would have to be dug up and relayed. Costs thus blew out for connecting houses from an envisaged average of $4,400 to, in some cases, more than $20,000, an NBN spokesman says. Australia needs a 21st-century broadband network, and this is not being delivered, said Laurie Patton, Executive Director of consumer advocacy group Internet Australia. The way we're heading now, whoever is in office in 2020 will have to deal with our biggest ever national infrastructure debacle.